Welcome to the wing build tutorial from the Harrier. Here we got the wing part. First we bring it in the correct position and then we check the aligning to the build plate. This we can do here. Now we see it is 90 degree in the wrong position. So we have to turn it around and move it a bit to the front like this. And this is caused when we slice it. The seam of this print is always on the rear side. So every part that you slice with our print profiles, you should position in that the side where is the seam, maybe the lower side or the rear side, is always on the end of the print plate. Here we can see this in the preview. This white line here is the seam, and so the seam is not so good to see. This is what we want. This is the best result, just for you to know. If your build plate is not that big, this is from a Creality CR10 Max. You can also put it diagonal on the build plate like this. This is also okay, but at the end, this should be on the front. You can check this here. This should be front and the trailing edge on the end, so you got the best print result. Also something special on this print profile, when you go to material, then you see the build plate temperature is 1x30 and 1x50. This is to save energy, and after your first layer the temperature goes down to 30 degrees, and if you got some problems with the bed adhesion, you can raise the temperature right here to solve this. But normally this should work and save a lot of energy on your print. Here we got the electronics. Here we got the wire extension we use for the wing. At first these are for the retractable gears, aileron, flaps, and from this we build some V-cables to combine both sides. Here we got the original V-cables with 5 cm and 15 cm, but I think they are a little bit too big. I don't like this bump, and also these connectors, they are quite big and also heavy, so I want to build up my own. From this are ones with 2 males. From this we want to build this V part. Let's go. With a clamp I bring the pins a bit closer to make it easier for soldering. They are already soldered, but these contacts are open right here, and I want to stabilize this a bit with this hot glue gun. So I put some hot glue just in there. This for isolating reason and also to stabilize the whole connector. Now there is hot glue on all connectors, and the last step is to bring some shrink tube over it. Let's have a look on the weight. This is the normal one, 4.4 grams. This is the lighter one, 1.3 grams. So we save about 3 grams per part of these connectors. And even these two cables are already combined here in the space, so it looks much cleaner. Let's have a closer look at the part itself. These are the mid-wing parts. And make sure that you removed all the supports and also free these holes. For removing the support from small holes, I built these special brass tubes. On the cone you can see they are sharpened. This was done with this tool for the Dremel. With this I just cut down here and also cut along there to let it work like a drill and to ream on the holes and make them smooth and nice. And they go into this electric drill. and then you can easily remove the support if some is in there. And here we got the ale as elastic flap. To make it work like this, I'm using 120 sandpaper, put it on the edge of this grinding spatula, and then you can go easily in here and grind as long as all support is removed, and also to make this a little bit thinner, that it starts working easy. And you do the same on the upper side. Here also did some grinding, because after them here on this hinge area we'll put some vinyl tape, and for better adhesion on the surface it is grinded down. You can also do this with 120, but be careful that you don't grind through this thin lip. This is just that the rudder or flap can move easily. Here on this wingtip there are still a bit work to go. So let's start with the upper side. To remove these small spots here on the vortex generators, I use this knife, cut this away, and afterwards do some grinding. This is a wood stick with sandpaper, 120 on both sides, and then you can do carefully, they're very small, do some grinding. This should look like this, that they are clear, then they can do their best job and stabilize the airflow on the upper side for much lift and a very good stall behavior. Let's go to the lower side. Here we got to remove the support in the area from the retract. These are the tools I'm using for this. Sharp spatulas and this plier, and just rip it off. For reaching these small areas, I also built some customized chisels. They are made of screwdrivers. You can reach these areas to remove the support in there. Especially to work in this tiny cable channel, I use this customized chisel. Just go under the support and root it out. And so we got our cable channel right there. Next is removing the support from these holes for the screws of the retract. The top is just flattened, that I can press out the support, and then you can press out. Here we got some support from the 5mm joiner. For this reason we use our special brass drill and go carefully on the top of it. When this is full of the support, we press it deeper in. This has to be always free when we start again. So now we go again inside and let it grab the support. Here we check. Now the support is in there. The hole is free and clear. And after the work is done, just take some rod and press out the support. First step on the wing is preparing the levers for ale and flaps. This means drilling the holes and installing the balls for the linkage. The servo arm length on the ale is about 18mm from rotation point to rotation point. On the servo a fork head is used. This is the zero position of the servo arm installed. It goes about 20 degrees to the front. Checking the alignment before gluing something. This looks good. Here we got the servo horn for the flap servo. This one is much shorter. It's about 8mm from rotating point to rotating point. This is the flap servo installed. The zero position is also slightly to the front, and this should move 150%. 150 plus it is neutral in zero position, and 150 it is for maximum flaps set. To reinforce the small rib between flaps and ailerons, there has to be a 1.5mm carbon rod to install. It is 65mm long. And first put some super glue into the hole. Now we can go on bringing the wing parts together. For this, first the wire extension will be installed. Next, putting the positioning pins into the wingtip. These are the carbon tubes for the outer wingtip. They are 100 mm long and go inside there. Before I glue some parts together, I do a dry assembly to check the alignment of all rods, pins and the part itself. When everything fits, we can start the bonding process. I'm using medium or thick super glue. Here I'm putting the accelerator on the wingtip bonding area, and you can see one area is completely flat and the other there are some cutouts in between. And always where the cutouts are, I put in the super glue because this is the smaller area, and on a flat area I put the accelerator. Also here I first do a test assembly to see if everything fit and is correctly aligned, and after this I put on the super glue. To save the cable from falling into the wing, I am installing this small hatch. Next part is the wing midsection. Now it's time for some wiring. Here you can do a last check if everything works and the connections are good, and then start putting the wires through the rear spar and bring them to this front hatch. If there are still some gaps between the wing and midsection, they should be filled with medium or thick super glue. Also the areas where the cables are running, where was put no super glue in the first step, should be bonded now. Left and right wing side are assembled. Now it's time to put in the back part of the wing, where it is attached to the fuselage later on. The cables are already installed, also the self-built V-cables, and now it's time to put this in a good direction. Now some cable clips are installed to hold the cables in position. Now everything looks nice and clean. Also these 5 mm carbon rods are installed. They are 140 mm long and go just through this main spar to hold the wing on the fuselage later on. The last thing we will do now is to secure these connectors with some shrink tube that goes over this. Here we got the reverser. This is for the flaps that they can run on just one channel, and this got also some shrink tube to secure the connector. Everything is finished. Now we can do the last checkup. Let's start with the retracts. Next are the ailerons. They are also running. And the flaps. They are running also nice. The electronic is working. and we can go on laminating. Here we got the rovings, 1200 hex rovings. They got 410 millimeter, 730, and on the lower side 700. And I'm using these two woods. They are covered with plastic tape. On this, the wing can be positioned and it doesn't shake. And we will laminate at first the roving on this plastic film. This makes it much more easier, and we can also check if they are completely impregnated with the resin while we take a look from underneath. And then we put them two together and always as a pair onto the wing. Let's go. I was mixing 10 grams resin plus 4 gram hardener. That's enough for this roving work. Let's take a look under the plastic film if the rovings are completely impregnated. This should look completely black, but we can see there's some spots. These brighter spots means that the resin is not completely gone through the roving, so we have to go on with working and add a bit resin. I'm pressing and massaging the roving into the gap till it fits perfect and is aligned with the surface. This battery area should be covered with resin to reinforce the surface. Because here we will put the battery in and out, lots of loads, and just with some resin we make it much stronger and this will stay longer everywhere where the battery could touch. And last but not least, also this area can be covered. In this last step we want to cover the rovings with some paper tape to make it nice and flat. We put the tape that the roving is right in the middle between us, and then we start in the center and do again a little massage. Press the roving flat. Here we start in the center. You have to be very careful with these edges that the roving stays in there. So, and press it into this edge. And then go along both sides, from inside to outside. The roving is on both sides covered with the tape, and in this position we let it cure 24 hours. Here we can see I installed also lightweight PLA parts. There you can choose any material you want. Even with the tape, some areas could be a bit uneven, and they will be grinded down with this battery angel rotation grinder with 120 grit. Everything is finally grinded, and to make it looking more nicely, I will cover it with this vinyl tape. Here I'm marking the hinge axis from aileron and flap, and later on there comes the vinyl tape to reinforce the elastic flap. To get a good bonding to the surface, I use this clove, press lightly. Next is doing some cutouts that the aileron and flap can move correctly. This is the battery cover, and in the end there come 2 magnets each side. And on the front the carbon rods 1.5 mm, 30 mm long. These are the magnets that should be bonded to the wing itself. They are installed on the hatch so they can be brought in position easily. And at last, the battery sidewalls. They should stay removable, that you can reach the servo cables from the wing. And here they are, the Astro wing in the front and the VTOL wing right behind. And if you like to spray paint your wing, I can recommend the Molotov Covers All spray paint. They work really nice. You can use them as filler and also as final color paint. They are good to grind and super lightweight. And that's it for this episode. Next one we will go on with the fuselage and have fun with your Harriers. And if there are any questions, write it down in the comments. And we see us in the next video. Bye bye.